let's create our animated door, which opens at the end of the level to allow us to exit the level. I believe this is the last bit of animation that we need to do in this project, and we've done so much animation, we've had so much practice at it, it should hopefully be a very easy task. So here we go. Scene, new scene. And I want a static body, like all the other blocks. Static body 2D. There we go. I'll change that to door. And now let's have a sprite. And let's get ourselves a texture. What does it say there? There's a warning. Oh yeah, it doesn't have a collision shape. That's fine. Do that later. Sprite 2D. So assets, art, sprite sheets, and we want the door. Animated door right at the top. So I'm going to drag it over here to where it says texture. And what have we got? We've got a 3x4. So animation, horizontal frames, 1, 2, 3, and vertical frames, 4. Looks good. Okay, shall we do the collision shape? So select door as the parent, plus, it's already there, so collision shape 2D. And we need a shape. So I'm going to go new rectangle shape. And if I go into transform, I should be able to, sorry, that's wrong. Close down transform. Go into rectangle. I should be able to set it to 64 by 64, which is the exact size of the sprite. Looking good. So we can put that in our scene now and it'll work. The player will be able to bump into it. But what we need to happen is for the player to walk up to it and the door automatically open, and then we reload our, what we would actually do in a game is load the next scene. But because we've only got one scene at the moment, we'll just reload the current scene and start the game again, just as a temporary measure. So what I need now is an area 2D. Because we're dealing with player detection, aren't we? So I go area 2D and put that there. And that node itself is going to need a collision shape. So with area 2D as the parent, let's add a collision shape. Looking good. I'm going to double click on area 2D and just call it the player detector, because that's what it is again. Detector. And let's do a shape, which is a rectangle shape. And it's appeared in the middle, so I need it to move. And you can see I'm moving it. I have moved the collision shape, but not the player detector. I'm going to move both things. So instead of trying to mouse over them and drag them, I am just going to go into, where is it? Transform. And let's move the X. Let's move it by minus 45, 44. Yeah, that looks good. And let's bring it down by 24 pixels. Oh, not quite 24. 22. Looks good. Are they level? They are level. All right. So transform for the player detector is minus 44 on the X and 22 on the Y. We've got to hook it up now to the door to enable it to tell the door that the player has walked up to it. So let's do that next. We need a signal, don't we? But before we can have a signal, we need a script. So clicking on door to make it the parent, and we want a script. An empty script is fine, and it's going to be saved in door GD, but I haven't saved the door yet. So let's do that. Control S, Command S. I'm going to save it in the world. Door scene, save. All right, add a script. Empty script. It's going to save it in door scene, create. Now let's do a signal. So from the player detector into the inspector, into node, and we want body entered. And we're connecting the door. That looks good. We've got our function. And I'm not going to do anything with that at the moment, because when we enter the area 2D and are detected, we need the door to open before we reload the current scene or load the next scene. So in order for that to happen, we need to animate the door. So I'm just going to leave that as it is. And let's create an animation player. With the door as the parent again, animation player. We've done lots of animation, so this should hopefully be really, really easy. And we're going to animation and new animation, and I'm just going to call it open. And I am just going to go add track. Done this a lot of times now, property track. Again, animating the sprite, and we want the frame. All right. It's given me a default 1 second animation. We'll see how that goes. Going into Sprite 2D and going into frame and frame 0. Let's change to 2D view, and that is frame 0. So let's keyframe it. Checking that the playhead is 0 as always. Keyframe it. Yep, it's moved the playhead and moved the sprite, so that's good. And just keep clicking it until we have an open door. That looks like an open door to me. 3, 6, 9. Oh, is there another one? No, that's it. Okay, so that looks good. If I want a better look at it, I can stretch that out, scroll along. Yes, so a 1 second animation is handy. Let's see how it looks. So playhead back to 0, play. And the door opens. It doesn't go all the way to the end. I think I need an extra. I think I need to make it 1.1 seconds. And I think I need to add an extra frame. Yeah, look, there was an extra frame, frame 10. Put that in. So it's a 1.1 second animation. And there are 10 frames. Back to 0. Try it again. Looks good. Okay, once we've done that, okay, now we've completed the animation, we can set about detecting the player and signaling the door to play the animation. Before we can do that, we need to sort out our collision layers, because that will save us a bit of work when it comes to scripting. So I've got player detector selected, and I'm going to go into collision. We're not the player, we are the world, and we can only interact with the player. So that's good. Close that down. Let's do the same thing with the door. So we are not the player, we are the world, and we can only interact with the player. That's good. Let's go to script view and let's work on this function. So when the player enters the player detector, the first thing we want to do is to play the animation. So we got animation player.play open. The next thing we need to do is to reset the game once the animation has finished playing. So for that, I'm going to do another function, and I'm just going to call it reset game. But I'm not going to reset the game in this scene because we've already done it in the player scene. Okay, remember the player script resets the game after the player's died. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call up the player using groups and tell the player to reset the game. So I'm going to go get tree dot call group player and comma, and the method I want to call is reset game, I think it was called. Give that a save. Now what remains is we have to add a call method track to our animation here. So I'm just going to click add track, call method track, call it on the door, And our playhead should already be at the end. So if I insert a keyframe here, so control click or right click, insert a key, and there is my reset game script. So I'm going to double click and put that there. Okay, let's test. Before I can test, obviously, I need to click this icon to enable me to move the door safely. So I click that. So first what I need to do is put my door at the end. I'm going to put it at the end behind the TNT. So I have to blow up the TNT before getting to the door. So block 26, I'm going to delete that. So it's Command X for me to delete that. With the level template selected, I'm going to instantiate a door. So DOOR, door. And you'll notice it puts it at the bottom. That's really important because it enables us to move it where we want it to go. Once we've moved it where we want it to go, we can put it in the block section maybe. So click and drag, put it in there. That's looking good. Let's test the game. So play. Blow up the dynamite to get to the door. Get to the door opens, and the game resets. I do believe that is the last of the animations for this project. So we're really making progress. Next time, I think we need to get on with creating a proper level. I hope to see you then.